Hey guys, welcome back. We are doing lesson 22 for Wit and Wisdom. So let's get started. Our focus question today is, how does Irene respond to the powerful force of the wind? So how does she react to the wind? Our content framing question is, what is happening in Brave Irene? So we're going to really dig deep into our story to find out what is going on. So in this lesson, we're going to begin by taking a closer look at the fluency passage to figure out what the poem It Fell in the City is about. We're going to organize Brave Irene by using a story map to act out Irene's dramatic journey to deliver that dress. And then we're also going to use some sensory words and phrases in a story in preparation for describing a scene from Brave Irene. So let's get started by practicing our fluency. So let me share my page with you. All right, so our fluency homework. It Fell in the City by Eve Merriam. It fell in the city. It fell in the city. It fell through the night, and the black rooftops all turned white. Red fire hydrants all turned white. Blue police cars all turned white. Green garbage cans all turned white. Gray sidewalks all turned white. Yellow no parking signs all turned white when it fell in the city all through the night. What do you think fell that made everything turn white? Oh, I bet you're guessing snow, aren't you? Me too, because it's so quiet, and when it covers things, everything is white, isn't it? Yes. Okay. Well, we're going to jump right into our story. So I'm going to move us on over to our video to watch so we can get started on this. Let me get us up. Big screen.
Hello friends, and welcome back to Wit and Wisdom and Sing. My name is Tanisha Spears and I'm excited to jump into our lesson for today. But before we do, let's make sure you have your materials ready. For this lesson, you will need a copy of the text, Brave Irene, if you have it. You'll need handout 22A, which is the Brave Irene story map. You'll need your Wit and Wisdom and Sing journal and a pencil. Pause the video now if you need to gather your materials. In previous work, you had an opportunity to listen to the text of Brave Irene, and you made observations and asked questions about the text. Today, you'll get back into the book to complete a story map, and you will also think about using sensory words. The question that will frame our work for today is, what is happening in this text? So you will use a story map to figure out what is happening in the text, Brave Irene. Now, I want you to think, when you use a story map to organize a text, what story elements do you look for? I'll ask it one more time. When you use a story map to organize a text, what story elements do you look for? Think. Now, share with your learning partner or just share aloud if your learning partner is not available.
So let's think about it. What story elements do we look for in a story? We look for character, we look for a setting, for a problem, and a resolution, don't we? We sure do.
I wish I could have heard what you shared. Here are the things that I do. A story map has a place to identify the characters, the setting, the problem, the response to the problem, and the resolution. You are going to have an opportunity to identify these elements in the text, Brave Irene. What I'd like you to do now is take out handout 22A. It looks like what you see on the screen. Now, don't worry if you don't have the handout. You can make your own story map in your journal. Do you have your journal or handout 22A ready? I am going to review some excerpts from the story Brave Irene. And I am going to pause the route so that you can complete your story map. Are you ready? Let's get back into the text. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is think about what are the first two elements we need to identify for our story map. So think, share with the learning partner, or share aloud.
Okay, what do we have to know? Characters and setting. So we're getting ready to find out who the characters and setting are.
You probably said it. The first two elements we need to identify are characters and the setting. Take a look at the illustrations on the screen. These are illustrations from pages 2, 5, 22. And if you have the book, you can use that as well. What I'd like you to do is look at those illustrations to determine the main character and the setting. And then I'd like you to fill that in on your story map. I'll say it one more time. Look at the illustrations on the screen or in your book from pages 2, 5, and 22 and identify the main character and the setting. And then fill in those sections on your story map.
Okay, so looking at those pages, who was the main character? You should have said Brave Irene, right? And where did it take place? It took place in her house and it took place outside in a snowy area, right? Okay, and it also took place in the palace. Good. Now, take us back to the characters a second. Could you count the wind as a character here? Because she's talking to the wind? Possibly, you could. You possibly could. And you could add Irene's mom also, even though she's not in the story all the way through. She's at the beginning and she's at the end. All right, so let's see if we're correct.
Did you identify the characters and the settings? If you didn't, make sure you go back to that section of your story map. Remember, you can use your own copy of the text or just rewind the video if you need to refresh the memory. Okay, friends. Now, remember, the problem in the story is the challenge the main character faces. I'm going to read some more and you should listen carefully to identify the main problems Irene faces in this story. Okay, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to put your hands on the top of your heads, just like the icon we see on the screen. You hear evidence of a problem. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Listen carefully. Mrs. Bobbin, the dressmaker, was tired and had a bad headache, but she still managed to sew the last stitches in the gown she was making. It's the most beautiful dress in the whole world, said her daughter Irene. The Duchess will love it. It is nice, her mother admitted, but Dumpling, it's for tonight's ball, and I don't have the strength to bring it. I feel sick. She pounced into cold, but the ill-tempered wind ripped the box open. The ball gown flounced out and went waltzing through the powdered air with tissue paper attendants. Irene clung to the empty box and watched the beautiful gown disappear. How could anything so terribly wrong be allowed to happen? Tears rose on her lashes. Her dear mother's hard work, all those days of measuring, cutting, pinning, stitching for this? And the poor Duchess. Irene decided she would have to trudge on with just the box and explain everything in person. Okay, what are the main problems? Remember, you can use your own copy of the text or rewind the video if you need to refresh your memory. I'd like you to pause the video to complete this section of your story map.
Okay, my friends. So let's think about the problem, what she just read. The problem is that Miss Bobbins had a headache and she couldn't deliver the dress to the Duchess, right? Yeah, that was a big problem. So who delivered the dress? Irene. Yes, Irene tries to deliver the dress, but the wind is really strong. So that's another problem there, right? And then another problem is the wind is so horribly strong that it rips the box open and blows the dress away. That's another problem. Wow, this story has lots of problems, doesn't it? And Irene even twisted her ankle. She fell and hurt herself. And then she got buried in the snow. Man, that would just make me want to just sit up and just quit right then and there. But did she? Let's see.
Did you identify the problems?
You did.
Let's keep going. On these next pages that I'm going to read, you're going to hear how Irene responds or reacts to the problem. And what I'd like you to do is use your arms to make the same motion that you see in the icon on the screen when you hear evidence of how Irene responds to a main problem in the story. Ready? Listen carefully. With great care, Irene took the splendid gown down from the dummy and packed it in a big box with plenty of tissue paper. Dress warmly, Puddin', her mother called in a weak voice, and don't forget to button up. It's cold out there and windy. Irene put on her fleece-lined boots, her red hat and muffler, her heavy coat, and her mittens. She kissed her mother's hot forehead 6 times. Then, once again, made sure she was tucked in snugly and slipped out with the big box, shutting the door firmly behind her. How did Irene respond to the problem that her mother is sick? I'll ask it one more time. How does Irene respond to the problem that her mother is sick? Share your idea with a learning partner or just share aloud.
What does she do? She tucks her mom into bed, doesn't she? And she packs the dress nicely in a box with tissue paper and then slips out the door. She takes responsibility to deliver it, doesn't she? She sure does.
Did you say that Irene responds to the problem of her mother being sick by deciding to take the dress to the palace herself? Now I want you to listen to how Irene responds to a problem that happens later in the book when the wind blows the dress away. Listen carefully. She plowed on, dragging furrows with her sore feet. The short winter day was almost done. Am I still going the right way, she wondered. There was no one around to advise her. Whoever else there was in this snow-covered world was far, far away and safe indoors. Even the animals in their burrows. She went plodding on. How does Irene react when the wind rips the box open and blows the dress away? Think, share your idea with your learning partner, or just share aloud.
What does she do? It says she plowed on, dragging her sore foot, right? So she keeps going. She doesn't give up. She doesn't stop. She kept plodding on.
Did you say that she just kept plodding on?
Mm-hmm.
That's right, because no matter how hard the wind tries to stop her, brave Irene keeps heading towards the palace. So, Irene responds to these problems by taking the dress to the palace herself and not letting anything stop her. Okay, now what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to think about this question. How does Irene respond to the problems? And remember, one of the main problems was that Irene's mom was sick. And then the other main problem was that the wind blew the dress away. So, how does Irene respond to those problems? Pause the video now and complete that section of your story map.
Okay, now let's think about this. How does Irene respond to the first problem of getting the dress? Because her mom is sick, so what does Irene do? She decides she's going to deliver the dress to the Duchess. So that's a response to one problem. And then she gets out there and the wind is just forceful with her and it causes all kinds of problems for her, right? But she keeps moving on. She doesn't stop. She keeps moving forward.
Okay, friends, did you write out the way Irene responds to the main problems? Remember, one of the problems was that Irene's mom was sick. So
Yep.
did you capture how she responded to that problem?
Yep, we sure
And
did.
the other problem was that the wind snatched the gown away from Irene. Did you write how she responded to that problem?
Yes, we did.
Pause the video now to complete it on your story map.
You should have wrote all that.
Did you write that Irene responded to the problem of her mother being sick by taking the dress to the palace herself?
Yes.
But what about how she responded or reacted when the wind rips open the box and blows the dress away? Did you say that she just keeps plodding on?
We said
Or
she's
did you say
going
that no
on.
matter how hard the wind tried to stop her, brave Irene keeps heading toward the palace?
Yes.
Now let's begin to think about the resolution. Remember, the resolution is how the problems get solved at the end of the story. So what I am going to do is I am going to read a few pages. And what I'd like you to do is make the signal like the one you see in the top of the screen when you hear evidence of how a problem is solved. But then her feet stopped moving and her mouth fell open. She stared. Maybe this was impossible. Yet there it was, a little way off and over to the right, hugging the trunk of a tree. The beautiful ball gown. The wind was holding it there. Mama, Irene shouted, Mama, I found it. She managed somehow, despite the wind's meddling, to get the gown off the tree and back in its box. And in another moment, she was at the door of the palace. She knocked twice with the big brass knocker. The door opened and she burst in. Now, friends, what is the resolution to the problem of the lost dress? In other words, how does Irene's problem get solved? Think. Now,
So how does her problem get solved? She delivers the dress, doesn't she? Yeah, she delivers the dress and she gets to attend the ball. Awesome.
share your idea with a learning partner. All right, now I am going to go all the way to the last page of the story to look for how the problem that Mrs. Bobbin is sick gets resolved. Well, there was a bearded doctor in the back of the sleigh, and the Duchess had sent Irene's mother a ginger cake with white icing,
Ooh.
some oranges, and a pineapple, and spiced candy of many flavors, along with a note saying how much she cherished her gown and what a brave and loving person Irene was, which, of course, Mrs. Bobbin knew better than the Duchess. Now see, how does the story wrap up? In other words, what is the final resolution? Think. Now share your idea with the learning partner or share aloud.
So what's the final resolution? Irene got to go home the next day to check on her mom. The Duchess sent a doctor to check on her to make sure that she was doing better, and even sent her some goodies, right? Okay.
Okay, friends, what is the resolution? Remember, you can use your copy of the text or rewind the video if you need to refresh your memory. Pause the video now and complete this section of your story map. All right. Did you write your resolution?
We did.
If you didn't, please make sure you do so now. Okay. Now you're going to check your story map to make sure that you have written your characters, your setting, your problem, your response to the problem, and the resolutions on your story map. You might want to pause the video if there are any elements that you still need to complete. Otherwise, congratulations on using a story map to describe what is happening in the text Brave Irene. If you need to, pause the video now to take a moment to stretch or take a quick break. When you're done, unpause the video. Welcome back, friends. We're now going to get into thinking about sensory words, and this is the question that will help frame our thinking today. Why is using sensory words in a scene important? Sensory words are words that use 5 senses to describe something. And I want to remind you that you have identified sensory language in several texts by collecting examples of what the wind looks like, sounds like, and feels like. So today, you will learn how to use sensory words and phrases in your writing. Now, using sensory language is one way writers help readers experience a story. Sensory language helps readers imagine the scene an author has written. It puts a picture in the reader's mind. I want you to try this. Close your eyes. You are going to listen for sensory words in 2 sentences about Irene. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Listen carefully as I read this sentence. And as I'm reading, I want you to imagine what Irene hears, sees, and feels in the sentence. Here we go. The wind blew snow into Irene's face. I'm going to read the sentence one more time. And as I read, you should be imagining with your eyes closed what Irene hears, sees, and feels as in sense of touch in this sentence. Here we go. The wind blew snow into Irene's face. Now, open your eyes. What does Irene see, hear, and feel in this sentence? What does she see, hear, and feel in this sentence? Share with a learning partner or just share aloud.
So let's think about, what does she see, hear, and feel? She saw the wind blowing, didn't she? She felt the snow on her face, which was cold. Maybe it felt stingy because it was so cold that she opened her eyes. Okay.
Did you share? Okay. Sentence 2 has the word squinting in it. Squinting means partly closing the eyelids to look at something like this. Okay. It may be hard to see, so I take my glasses off so you can see. But squinting is like this. You're partly closing the eyelids to look at something. All right? Now, just like you did in the first sentence, I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to imagine what Irene hears, sees, and feels like in touch in this sentence. Here we go. The wind whirled the falling snowflakes about this way, that way, and into Irene's squinting face. I'm going to read it one more time. The wind whirled the falling snowflakes about this way, that way, and into Irene's squinting face. Now, friends, open your eyes. What does Irene see, hear, and feel in this sentence? Share with your learning partner or share aloud.
So seeing, hearing, and feeling. So think about the falling snowflakes. So she's seeing them with her eyes, right? But she's feeling it on her face. And so her eyes are squinted. Okay, so she feels the cold. She hears the wind whirling. And she probably feels the wind blowing hard on her face. So that's why her eyes are squinted, right? So it keeps the snow out of her eyes, right? Okay.
Okay, I want you to now think. Which sentence were you able to imagine more clearly? I'm going to read the sentences again. And I want you to hold up a finger for sentence 1 if you were able to imagine that one more clearly, or hold up 2 fingers for sentence 2 if you were able to hear that sentence more clearly. Listen to the sentences again. Here's sentence 1. The wind blew snow into Irene's face. Here's sentence 2. The wind whirled falling snowflakes about this way, that way, and into Irene's squinting face. Think again, which sentence were you able to imagine more clearly? Was it sentence 1 or sentence 2? If it was sentence 1, hold up 1 finger. If it was sentence 2, hold up 2 fingers. Okay, now, which words in sentence 2 help you imagine the scene? I'm going to read sentence 2 again. The wind whirled the falling snowflakes about this way, that way, and into Irene's squinting face. Here's the question again. Which words in sentence 2 help you imagine the scene? What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to record or write as many sensory words as you can that describe what Irene sees, hears, or feels in the sentence. Pause the video now to record or write.
Okay, my friends, write those in your journal. Your sensory words that she sees, hears, and feels from the wind whirling the falling snow about this way and that way and into Irene's squinting face. What did she see? How did it feel? All right.
All right, awesome graders. Did you write your sensory words? If you didn't, I encourage you to do so. Nice job creating a story map for the text Brave Irene today. And nice job thinking about why using sensory words in a scene is important. In our next lesson, we will continue with the text Brave Irene, but until then, be kind and do something great because you are capable of greatness.
Okay. All right, my friends. So we're going to look at something else here before we end this lesson. We're going to look at characters' actions. Characters' actions. And I want us to look at page 9 in this story. And what we do is look at what the wind is doing and how Irene responds to this. All right, so I'm going to read page 9. The wind wrestled her for the package, walloped it, twisted it, shook it, snatched at it, but Irene wouldn't yield. It's my mother's work, she screamed. Then, oh, whoa, the box was wrenched from her mittened grasp and sent bumbling along in the snow. Irene went after it. So, what was the wind doing? It was trying to wrestle her for the package, right? And what was Irene's response? She was trying to hold on to it, and then she had to run after it, right? Okay. So how could you act like the wind there? If you had to act that out, how would you act like the wind? Trying to wrestle something, right? Okay. Let's look at page 10. She pounced and took hold, but the ill-tempered wind ripped that box open. The ball gown flounced out and went waltzing through the powdered air with tissue paper attendants. Irene clung to the empty box and watched the beautiful gown disappear. So what happened there? The wind ripped open that box and just took the dress, right? And the tissue paper. And what did Irene do? She could just stand there and watch. How do you think she felt there? Felt sad, didn't she? She's like, that's my mama's work and now it's gone. Okay, let's look at page 19. It says she laid the box down and climbed aboard, but it pressed into the snow and stuck. She tried again, and this time, instead of climbing on, she leaped. The box shot forward like a lead. The wind raced after Irene, but couldn't keep up. In a moment, she would be with people again, inside where it was warm. The sled slowed and jerked to a stop on paving stones. The time had come to break the news to the Duchess. With the empty box clasped to her chest, Irene strode nervously toward the palace. So what was going on here? Irene had seen the lights and she's like, I have got to get inside this palace and tell the Duchess what was going on, right? So she leaped onto the box and went sledding down the hill with the wind behind her. So the wind was racing after her, right? How do you think Irene felt there? She's probably glad the wind was behind her, right? But kind of nervous that it was chasing her? Possibly. But then when Irene got to the bottom, how did she feel with that empty box? She still felt sad, didn't she? Because she knew she had to tell the Duchess the bad news. And then our last page to look at, page 20. But then her feet stopped moving and her mouth fell open. She stared. Maybe this was impossible. Yet there it was, a little way off and over to the right, hugging the trunk of the tree, the beautiful ball gown. The wind was holding it there. Mama, Irene shouted, Mama, I found it. How did Irene feel there? She was so relieved that she had found it, didn't she? She's like, oh, thank goodness it's here. Because I don't think she really wanted to tell the Duchess, did she? I don't think I would have either. But I'm glad she found it. That way she could take it to the Duchess. All right. So let's talk a little bit about root words. We've been talking about words a little bit in phonics. Now remember, root words is a main word, but there's an ending usually on them, such as ed or ing or s sometimes. All right. So I want us to identify some root words with the ending ing today. So I'm going to read page 11, and I want you to listen to words that end with ing. And we're going to write them on our board behind me, okay? So I'm going to get closer there. All right. So how could anything so terribly wrong be allowed to happen? Tears froze on her lashes. Her dear mother's hard work, all those days of measuring. Ooh, there's an ing word. You write measuring. Measuring, cutting, there's another one. Pinning, there's another one. Stitching, there's one more. For this and the poor Duchess, Irene decided she would have to trudge on with just the box and explain everything in person. All right, so let's look at these 4 words here. Let's look at them. So let's decide what the root is here. On measuring, what do you think the root word is? It would be measure. And the ending would be the ing. What about cutting? It would be cut is the root. And ing is the ending. What about pinning? Be pin, and ing is the ending. What about stitching? Stitch is the root word, and ing is the ending. Now, notice on cutting and pinning, there is an extra letter there. That is because that vowel is a short vowel, and they have to double the consonant at the end before adding the ending. All right? So root words are the main words that we focus on, and the ending is the ing there. All right. What about if I give you another word here? What if I put this word? Skipping. What's the root word? Skip. And why is that extra P there? It's because that's a short I. We have to double our P, and then we add our ing. Great job. Great job. Okay. All right, my friends, that is the end of our lesson today. I will see you back here tomorrow for our next one. Have a great day, friends. Bye.